Yep. Hey, how you doing, everyone? And welcome to the 1,000 subscriber, still in Canada. So it's been quite the trip. It's been interesting, and we've come for quite a bit of a ways. We started out about 5 years ago, deciding that, maybe into our retirement, we'll go with and, open up a new business to retire on, something that, can take as much or as little time as we want. And I have a history, or back history, of doing some distilling as part of my youth as I grew up. So it just fell naturally into it. And when we decided to do this, we had to do a lot of research. So you're reading a lot, you're online a lot, and as I'm going through online, I'm finding one name over and over keeps coming up. And when I go through the Reddit or through the home distillers websites, I keep seeing this Jessie fellow, and this name keeps coming up. So then eventually he announces he's going to, he's looking into it and he's going to do some videos. I thought, wow, what a cool idea, because we all learn so much better by visually seeing what's going on. And we watched him. First 6 months, we were watching quite intently everything he was doing. And we learned a lot from Jessie. We also learned a lot from George, or Barley and Hops, and from Bearded and Bored, as 3 channels that are on YouTube that just a massive amount of information. So as we watched Jessie, we're going, this is just so cool. But home distilling in North America, and I will say North America, US and Canada, is illegal. We can't home distill in any way, shape, or form. In the US, some of the states are saying that you can a certain amount, but federally, it is still an illegal activity. So, and we looked at it, we're going, well, we're not going to do anything illegal. We're not going to do any illegal acts. But what can we do to skirt this issue and find out if we have that capacity to bring forward a spirit that we're proud of and that we think we could sell? So we hooked in with a friend of ours who has another distillery. In fact, we ended up with 3 guys that were friends. And I could mash at home. I could do everything else in my garage, and you've seen that in the past. But whenever we distilled, we actually had to take it to one of our friends' distilleries. And we threw up the green tarp all the time, and we just, did that there. And then we did our cuts, and occasionally we brought some cuts home, which, that's right on the edge of whether or not we could have. But so we did that, and we kept on with the process. We decided, wasn't long afterwards, that we figured we could do a decent spirit. So we kept on going. We had built our first still, and we did that so we could learn the design and what we wanted in that. Watch Jessie, talk to Jessie over at Stillet, and learned a lot from what he did. So he started off with a keg as well, a little keg still. And I watched him do his soldering and everything else. And, he's joking about his poor quality solder. And boy, it turned out a lot nicer than some of my stuff sometimes. I did quite a few of my pieces over and had to do it a few times. And ended up having to buy some new equipment in order to do it properly. So it's been a journey. And you can see, if we please move side, you see there's the little still we started with. We built that sucker and we set it up tonight. It's here at the distillery, and we still actually do play with it and use it occasionally. In fact, today we had to do a run of bourbon mash, and it was just a small run, and we didn't have any containers left to put it in, so we actually stuck it inside that still. So it's getting repurposed as well as using for the original purpose. So although we started small, we kept on growing, we kept on learning, and then we finally pulled the trigger and we opened up Silver Fox Distillery. Now, we knew in Canada that it's a process. So we had to have our facility first, which is what you're seeing now behind us. And we knew from that January day that it would be 8 months to 24 months before we got all our licensing and all our approvals done. And we're happy to say that we have everything except for our last one. And we know we've already passed it. We're just waiting for the piece of paper in the mail so that we can hang that on the wall. So we can actually sell to our local liquor stores through our distribution center, and we can get everything ready. We just can't sell out of our storefront yet until we have our retail license.
Your retail store license.
Yep. So that's all we're waiting for. We hoped to have it yesterday, but it's going to be another week yet. So we're fine. We'll take our time, get there. But there's a running joke that we keep saying, you know, as we're talking about it. And every time Lisa looks at me and, you know, she says, "What are you doing?" She says, I just turned to her and says, "This is all Jesse's fault."
Yeah.
Blame Jesse. It's his fault. And in that, let's bring Jessie in. Hey, Jessie!
I take no responsibility for anything. Oh, no, pardon it.
It's way too late for that.
Well, congrats, guys. This has been a long time coming, but not nearly as long as it could have been. So congratulations and well done.
Well, that's it.
I know you went over time a little bit, but I think if you're anything under half of what you expected it was going to be, double, then you're doing pretty good with a project like that, man. So nice work. Very nice work, guys.
I think the most amazing thing was how fast our learning curve went. When I was younger and growing up in the backwoods in the east coast of Canada, we did only things like a rum, so molasses shine or things like that, and never did anything with grains or even with the, you know, we did molasses and brown sugar, never white sugar. So when we first started and reading everything you were posting, and sorry, we stalked the living hell out of you. Lisa would come in and I'd get home and she'd say, "You should see what Jessie just wrote." So yes, we were stalking you. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Then when you open up the video channel, amazing, just amazing. You don't promote, which is nice. You don't promote any illegal activity, and neither do we. We went beyond reasonable steps in order to make sure we stayed on the side of legal. We knew what our final goal was going to be. We couldn't afford to step out of what the laws allowed. So watching and learning and growing with you have been just a godsend to us. We probably cut 5 years off of learning just watching you.
Oh wow! I mean that's an honor, and I'm glad I could help. But it's really, I mean, like when I started the channel, I'd never distilled a drop. I was learning as I went. So it was really a case of, and I think I still kind of think of myself more as a person that can kind of go out there and find information and gather information and then regurgitate it in a way that's easily accessible for other people. And I have the bonus of living down here in New Zealand where it's legal, so I can talk about it openly and not have to, hide behind screen names on a, hidden forum somewhere. so really, it's like nothing I've done is me doing anything new or different. It's me finding, standing on the shoulders of giants, basically, which is pretty cool that we live in an age where we can find information.
Yeah, and you know what though, and I find this myself in my previous business and everything else. I learned so much more by teaching. When you have to explain something, you want to make sure you get it as right as you can. When you don't, you accept that. You learn from that as well and move on. And by explaining things to others, the base yourself. And that brings me to another point. So I've learned so much from you. I've also learned a lot from this other guy. And
we got someone else. Here we go.
Hey, Bearden!
Hey, there he is.
How's it going, everybody?
Okay, hold on a sec. Let's keep them entertained.
I know.
Look, I'm drinking beer.
I'm doing hard stuff.
Yeah, that's all I have in here.
I'm drinking lemon water.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm not compensating, but mine's bigger than yours.
Nice.
He's
Very
playing
nice.
with the laser cutter.
So, and you know what? I've got two things in the shop, that we keep around. We got the coins, and we have the Chase the Craft logo, but we also have up on the wall above the lab is just a little phrase that says, "How do you whiskey?" So as soon as people come in and say, "With magnificence," that changes the conversation we have with our customers.
I like that.
If they recognize any symbols that we have laying around, our conversations are now far different than what they were if they were just, coming in to have a taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that offline at some point there, Mark. About I like the idea of having the Chase the Craft logo up there, simply because I can see it sparking conversations where people walk in and they know that they can, they know that you're going to be receptive of talking nitty gritty geekery.
Well, I didn't know how far our conversation then was private. I didn't know how far you wanted to go with that. So you've opened up the can. So yeah, we ran off that was actually one of our first runs on our laser. Now we have a laser here to etch bottles, make paraphernalia, and everything else, all the swag we're doing in-house. So one of the first things we did was the Chase the Craft logo. And the intent of this was that if someone recognizes it, you're pretty sure what they're doing.
Right.
Well, now you can talk to them on a different level. So now you don't have to so much explain what a mash is or these certain things. It's you already know. But if you get the blank look, then you can go further. And I've already had a few people in here that came in, saw the logo, and all of a sudden they stopped, they looked at it. Their next question was, I have this issue doing this.
Nice. Yeah, we should come up with a phrase to go along with that, so as well, so everyone knows.
Have you ever distilled essential oils?
Yeah. It's not only people that are actually distilling either, though. There's lots of people that are into it that want to learn more just so they can enjoy it more,
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to a kick-ass restaurant and you've got some idea of how they're cooking it, then you can go, oh, wow, this is really good. I know that I can't make it myself, but I appreciate it even more because of that, because the effort that goes into it.
It's just like sports, too. I mean,
yes,
I can't play sports, but I know what's going on, so I can follow along, and that's why I enjoy it. But, same kind of thing, I think.
Yeah. I just saw in your chat, too, someone was asking about where a certain someone else was.
Okay, he had the invite. He said he was going to make it if he could. But you know what? This is not forcing anybody. If he was available, then we'd be talking to him. But he probably got sidetracked with something.
Yeah, it's not because we kicked him out.
No. We haven't insulted him yet. Well, I don't know about you guys on the porch.
Beer sounds pretty good. Let me grab one.
Yeah, I was just looking at my almost empty beer and looking for a whiskey. I wasn't going to drink because I've got to be productive after this, but.
Well, I figured I'm in it for a while, so yeah, I'm still on coffee.
Fair enough.
Yeah, next Friday we're heading down to Toronto, and our coffee bean supplier is there. Now, I don't know if you've seen our labels yet. Most of you have. We do have a coffee liqueur that we're exceptionally proud of, and the coffee company is custom roasting it for us.
Nice.
And it's a really thick, oily, just melt on your tongue liqueur. So we're really happy.
Have you tried it over ice cream yet?
Yes. we made a slushy out of it too.
Oh man, that sounds good.
It was freaking awesome.
I bet.
So I see, and just give me a sec, guys. I see there are some questions here, and I haven't been reading this beside me. I do apologize.
I was just about to throw two of those out for you.
Yeah. Now, once again,
you a softball.
Now, another thing, and once again, we'll go back to just this way with Jessie. and with Bearded over here. There we go. You guys, I started a lot wanting to do so much, but not having any of the knowledge. So, and I even said this on my channel, and I still say this, I'm starting from ground zero all the way up. And that includes me holding a camera. So, you know, the first few videos, the first year almost, I didn't have a decent camera. I had a cell phone. And that's all I
get
could
the job done.
I didn't have editing software. I tried a couple of editing softwares, but my computer was so old it couldn't do it. So I did all my video editing on a cell phone.
Yeah.
So
that's nuts, man.
If you've noticed in the last, since we started rebooting, and we did have a lull there because the government was watching what we were doing and everything else.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're kind of tippy-toeing around, and, you know, we're at the point now that we can move forward, and we have pretty much rebooted, and the newest series lately has been start to finish, and I'm pretty sure you've seen an improvement in the quality of what we're putting out. So, you know, once again, we spent that time learning, picking up software, got an amazing new laptop and a few other things to go with it, and now we can run the programs. Now we have the SLR to do the decent footage, although I'm still learning on that, but at least I can edit better than what I did.
And the camera.
Well,
Yeah.
it always sucks. Editing always sucks.
But
It's never like, oh man, I can't wait to do the editing today.
But I've been
If you ever notice a lag in my videos, it's because I hate editing so much.
You know,
every now and again I get a batch of like B-roll. If everything just comes together and I felt like I got good B-roll and I've got a song I want to edit to, then I'll get a little excited for it. But yeah, it's she's a grind, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and you know, I'm still building the facility, and we're still running, so squeezing it in is sometimes difficult.
Yeah.
And every time I'm editing, I'm trying to learn something new and incorporate it. I figure if I can keep doing one thing new every time,
right,
by a year's time, I should be at least, you know, passable.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way to do it, man. The problem is when you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what to look for, you don't know what to do, or
Yeah, but the don't know what I don't know is watching Jessie and then trying to repeat it.
Oh, dude, I'm a photographer that was like, yeah, video can't be that hard, can it? Oh, actually, it can be that hard. Don't watch me, dude.
Oh, come on! I just saw your recent slow-mos, and I'm going, oh wow!
Yeah. I got to watch him do that in person last time he was in Austin, and it was really fascinating. I actually took video of him taking video and talking me through the process, so that when I get a camera good enough to do that stuff, then I can watch that video back and be like, oh, okay, here's what I do.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to go over here to Maverick. You've asked a few questions about the setup behind me. And in some of my videos in the past, I've run over, you know, how our system works, how it's laid out, and everything else. So we're not going to tie up tonight. Tonight is the celebration, and I have these guys here, and we have some others in the wings waiting. So I don't really want to get into the technical on how this stuff behind me works. I've already ran through it, and I'm going to run through it a lot more. We've just finished a run today. We did the Weller's copy. And that's freaking awesome. Bearded, you'll love this one. So I did this one on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So I used this mash bill, and it sat on wood for 4 days. And there's the color I got in 4 days.
Nice.
The intent of this is the white dog is not going to give me enough information to let me know if I want to barrel this.
Yeah.
But if I throw wood in this for less than 5 days, it should give me that little bit to tell me if I want to continue with this.
Yeah.
Other than the density and some of the complexity that comes with time, there's no difference. We've hit it dead on.
Yeah. I kind of just looking at your mash bill, and how you were putting everything together, I figured you were going to hit pretty darn close to the mark, and it really just, like you said, comes down to the aging. You know, can you get that result on wood that they did? And my
Yep.
guess is, yeah, or
Yeah,
pretty darn close.
Yeah, wood is 80% of the flavor of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The final mouthfeel and the flavor and all that. We don't know what the char and the toast is in the barrel, but we do know it's virgin oak.
Yeah.
So, that narrows it down quite a bit too. So we'll see.
What species of oak is it?
American white oak.
Okay.
So we know roughly what they've done, and we have some people that have told us certain things. But one thing we have to be careful is we don't want the exact same product.
Right.
You go.
And honestly, it's going to be impossible for you to get the same product because, as Jesse proved with one of his experiments, he took the same piece of wood, cut it into 3 or 4 pieces, and put it into 3 or 4 jars, and everything came out different.
Yep.
And it was all the same. It was all the same liquor. It was all the same wood. It was just from different sections of that 1 foot piece. Right.
And you've both been in barrel houses. Where have you not seen 2 barrels side by side, completely different flavors?
Yeah.
It's to get a product that is on the market shelf takes hundreds of barrels blended to keep the consistency.
Right.
We don't have that capacity, and if we ever get there.
Well, that's why all the small distilleries that are able to age on wood, they never try to really aim for a super consistent. This is always going to be, everything's a special reserve.
Yeah.
They might have something that's consistently the same mash bill, and they're aiming for a blend, but they put out so many special reserves because I think a lot of it is, when you're that new to the game, your palate is not going to be as skilled as the guy that's getting paid $500,000 to go through the barrel house and taste everything, and to know if I put barrels 19 through 65 and barrels 400 through 406 together, I'm going to get what we typically sell as our normal brand.
It's just
a long time to get there.
If you've got thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of barrels,
yeah,
and you've also got like a spirit safe full of the history that you can taste against, then you can blend pretty close. But if you've got 10 barrels that you put down last year,
yeah,
you're damn sure every one of those barrels is going to go into something. So
mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have 9.5 cask release specials.
Yeah. I think that's
right.
really the best way to go.
Batch 2, batch 3.
Yeah, I love what some random guy has written over here. Jesse adds gray to his beard to fit in.
You see what he said under that?
That brings, we keep getting the one question: why did you choose the name Silver Fox?
Oh, God.
And I have a very simple answer: old as shit didn't fit on the window.
Right.
So yeah, we have some pretty neat comments. I'm sorry, folks. Once again, this is the first time I've ever run a stream, and I have somewhat forgotten. And listening to these 2 gentlemen here, that I've learned so much from. That it's been.
I don't know how.
Okay.
I mean, this guy up here, he's got the knowledge. I don't.
Oh yeah.
This is just a bag of empty marbles
right now. So George isn't here, which is unfortunate. We had hoped he would be. It doesn't look like he could have made it. So I would like to discuss, and if you 2 are okay with this, the project that I've talked to you about.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming up in the future, you're going to see a collaboration of the 4 of us. It's us, Jesse, Bearded, and George from Burley and Hops. And we're going to be doing a step-by-step malting machine, which also smokes. So everything I've garnered so far has come from this guy.
I don't know how my dinky little plastic bucket is going to help you, you say this is a collaboration. Really, we're just here to bounce ideas off of. Man, you've got the technical skill and the know-how to put it all together, and we're gonna support the team.
Look, no one can do this alone. This is a big project, and I'm more than happy to do the heavy lifting of the manufacturing, but the ideas that are necessary to go through with this are coming from you guys as well. And, you know, don't say it's not, because I've already gotten quite a bit from both of you.
Well, you've got so much. You've done so much just with all the discussions that we've had and the plan that you had come up with. There's just so much information there that you've got pretty much nailed down. It's just like you said, just kind of working out some of the last few details through collaborating with us. And honestly, I think it's to me, it's fascinating to watch you do basically what my goal is to eventually have my own distillery, but also to help be a part of the process in some small way to get you guys to whatever goal you've got. It's really awesome. And thank you very much for including me.
Oh, you know what, guys, without you two and without George, we wouldn't be here. There's no way. There's no hope in hell we'd be at this point. And also,
He was more experienced, so I'm just like started total newbie.
yeah, you know, she spent more time with both of you than she did with me for almost 6 months. So, you know.
I'm sorry.
And the worst part is when she wakes me up and says, "You should see what he just did." All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
I've been married 32. That's good. So I'm sure Bearded knows what these are. Jessie, have you ever seen these?
Your video quality's dropped right out for me, mate. I see a blur.
Okay, so what that is that we have a company in the States. There we go. We have a company in the States called Bradley Smokers.
Mm-hmm.
And they feed these little pucks in digitally. Yeah. So you load the whole thing up with the pucks, it feeds them in, puts them on a hot plate, and it basically smokes everything.
20 minutes.
And then 20 minutes later, tosses that puck, loads in another one. That's part of our malting machine. And the neat thing about this is we're designing it such that anyone can use their local peat moss.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to.
So this is a Canadian brand of peat moss. Although we are malting all the barley, we're going to smoke it all too with a regional flavor to it. So that's
important.
I don't know what it's like for you up there, but for us down here, and I know in a lot of places, peat moss is different from peat. Peat moss is the moss.
Yes, sorry.
Peat. That is peat.
Yeah, that is peat.
That's actually peat.
I keep saying moss, but yeah, sorry.
I had a funny feeling that's what was going on, but just in case anyone else is listening.
Yes, no, I
don't want to smoke your brains with peat moss. That's pretty cool, man. That's really cool. I haven't dabbled in any of that stuff at all yet. And
all right, so gents, I have two other people in the wings here that I think it's time to bring them in.
Bring them in.
You both know them, so let's bring them in. First off is a friend of mine who lives fairly close to me. It's Canada, so anything under 10 hours is fairly close. And he has taught me the other side. He has taught me how to enjoy, how to express, and what flavors and how to dive into this. And we'll add him. Everybody, welcome Brad.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just grabbing a little sip of something there. How's everybody
going on tonight?
It's turned into a running joke, I see.
If you have any more of these, they're probably going to sell out today.
Available at internet retailers somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Gotta get
the bread.
Here, before we jump too much further, I have one more surprise, which you guys didn't know about.
Oh.
Everybody, welcome Jonathan from Iron Root.
How's it going, guys?
That guy.
What's up, man?
Hey, Jonathan.
Happy birthday, everybody.
It's pretty good company.
Cheers.
Been a good celebration. We reached our goal. We set a goal that we thought if we can within 3 years be at 1,000 subscribers, that'd be great. And the journey for us was, sorry, Jesse, it is journey, and he shakes his head. Oh God, no.
I hate that word with a passion, man.
So for us, and it has, and I'm sorry, it has been a journey for us, saying that to travel this road down to where we're at right now, it's been a fantastic feel. And you guys have been a great hand. And Jonathan down at Iron Root, we've seen a lot of your stuff. We've talked a lot, and you've been fantastic. Following what you folks have done as you grew has been an inspiration for us as well.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. So I got to tell you, I'm a little jealous. I saw all your piping. You don't have to haul around hoses. And so I'm excited for you, but I'm a little jealous right now.
Well, the part that's going to really hurt is when we put our liquid in the mash tun, we don't see it again until it's done and going down the drain. Everything is piped in. It goes from the mash tun to whichever fermenter we choose. When that's done, we turn the pump on. It fills whichever still we want.
That sounds dangerously professional.
Well, la-dee-da.
You still two as our boiling kettle for our CIP system. So we boil up still two, and then we fire that through the CIP, and it cleans every aspect as well as the fermenters, pumps back to still two, and then we clean still one and drain from there.
Beautiful.
So that was, and you know what? I keep coming back to Jesse. It was from him that made me investigate and everything else. I designed all this behind me. And
which is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
it is.
From learning from Jesse in what he had done and what he hadn't done. So, and I explored.
So you saw me screw up.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that.
It drove me to explore further things. And then, we went and we visited other people, and we kept listening. We listened well. It's a lot of them bitching about doing this or doing that. And you think, well, how can we avoid that?
Yeah.
And it was so, everyone was, even when you heard the grumblings, we were listening.
That's really the best way to learn. I came up with my malt tumbler by watching a whole bunch of videos and reading a whole bunch of posts on different forums, rock tumbler forums, about people trying to build their own thing. And I basically listened to all the this didn't work to put together my junky little thing. And it works out for me. I was just talking to a viewer. He sent me an email yesterday about a fix that he had and that he had come up with, and he shared that with me. So now I'm learning from my viewers, and it's a cool community that we're in. And I think having Jesse and George as kind of the primary hobby distillers, and then having you basically taking that and running with it in such a grand way, and us getting to watch that process is really, really cool.
It comes in, I don't know how much you heard, Jonathan, before you came on, but we are designing and building a malting machine, an automatic malting machine for the small distillery and home distiller. It will germinate, soak, germinate, dry, and smoke all in one shot.
I'll take one.
That's not going to happen, but we're going to show you exactly how to make your own.
Perfect.
Yeah. So it can hold about 100 pounds of bourbon. And
Get the patent lawyer on the phone. Don't be giving it away.
You know what? That doesn't interest us at all.
And honestly, patents are kind of a waste of time. It's something like this. If you don't already have the infrastructure to go ahead and build it yourself, or sell the idea to some dude in China to manufacture it for you, I think it's just there's such a small market that
Yeah.
we get a lot more enjoyment out of seeing people rig one up out of an old bathtub or something. You know, just finding out what people can do with the design that eventually comes out of this.
Yeah, so it's funny, we use a fair amount of malted barley, but we also use a lot of amylase because when you start adding up the cost of the malted barley, it's really, you know, $10 a bag or $80 a bag. Well, you know, amylase is not that bad to deal with, and I like amylase. So, but if you have the ability to do a malted, any grain malted, why not go for it? You know?
Yeah.
But it opens up a whole world of flavor possibilities for you too, man, to be able to dial in, you know, essentially the kilning and play somewhere between a super light malt and all the way up through a, you know, something going biscuit and through to roast or chocolate, or, you know, there's a lot of things you can do between A and B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's no difference in the design of the kiln unit to go from A to chocolate.
Right.
So, yeah, we'll have that availability.
That's pretty cool. So I'm never going to get around to building one for me. So I need to find someone down here in New Zealand that cares, you know, that has more time and doesn't have twins. And, you know.
I know who you should talk to. You should go talk to Lemming Herder.
Yeah. Yeah, I should. That's a good plan.
Angry Parrot, he's a fabricator.
This is true.
Do it.
This is true. I imagine that the size of machine that you would need, Jonathan, is significantly larger. How many how many kilos of grain is your like smallest mash?
So I'm gonna have to do math if we do that. We do 1,300 pounds at a time.
Oh, sorry, pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's a lot. What's that?
Like so small.
Or something?
So what's the gallon size of that?
We do about 1,000 gallons in a mash.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
It's about as much grain as I can fit, grain to water ratio in that bad boy. It's basically what we do. So.
Yeah.
Oh, you mash thick to make to get enough grain in there.
Yeah. So, well, and Jessie, I might have mentioned this when you were at our place. The mash tank was actually damaged at one point, and so the cooling on it doesn't work properly. So we actually have to add ice to it at the end. So
I didn't know that.
Well, okay, so our grain to water ratio actually has to incorporate us allowing to put the ice in at the end.
Oh no shit! Wow,
that's a lot of ice.
There's a math problem.
How much ice do you need?
So if we do 220 pounds of ice per mash, so I can't how many bags of ice I put in there, 20 pounds at a time, and it was depressing. So
did you end up getting an ice maker?
No, I've got to deliver ice at least. So
I'm hoping you are augering in the grains.
The grains, we actually do everything gravity fed from a super sack. It's got a spout on the bottom of it. So yeah, I'm not carrying that much grain up there.
Yeah. We're looking. We have the forklift here, and we're doing 800 pound batches. So yeah, we can still lift.
Yeah, I lift it too. I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
Yeah, seriously.
But
talking about getting the grain back out of the mash tun.
That's why we do grain on. We just set it all the way through. I never have to dig it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we have a sieve screen in the bottom of our mash tun, so yeah, and then we have to scrape it out. Yeah, that's. But we send it off to a farm, so it goes to animal feed afterwards, which we're really happy to see that happen. So, and our township looked at us, said, "You put that down the sewer, you're going to be in trouble."
Yeah. Oh yeah, it works out great for everyone if you can find someone to eat it, right? That's just
yeah. That works.
So, Jonathan, is yours is still thin enough after you've done your full run to pump it out of your still?
Yeah, so we'll actually pump it out into a tank, and a local rancher goes feed cattle with it. So they use it as a portion of the feed they do, and so they just kind of sprinkle it on, I guess, to amp up the protein.
Do you have to screen that to get just the solids for the rancher, or do they take it all? as a
So
slurry.
what some guys will do is they'll actually run it through a separator, and then they'll go through a drying process in which you would dry the grain. Since we're in Texas and there's a bunch of cattle ranches around here, we are fortunate enough that they will show up at 6 a.m. and take it hot and wet.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's nice.
so it's
Convenient.
yeah.
That saves you a lot of time.
So for the grain, and they think they're getting a special deal, and I think I'm getting a special deal because they take it off my hands for me. So
That's
And the
excellent.
cows are pumped.
oh yeah, cows love it. Cows love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Not as much as the pigs do.
Well, regardless of who eats it, it makes the meat really delicious.
That's true. That is true. We do get a little bit of meat every once in a while, and it's always nice to taste your own work.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? It's nice. We don't ask. We're happy with the grains that go to the animals, but we said, if you want to slip us some maple syrup every once in a while, well, we do have a product that has maple syrup in it.
There you go.
Well, that's currency up there in Canada, isn't it?
Well, it's a Canadian thing, yeah.
Basically, yeah. Might as well be.
They won't get you very far down here.
No,
Maple syrup.
it'd be barbecue sauce in your area.
That barbecue sauce, bacon would get you pretty far.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would that
I
be
had someone
your
send me
bacon
some real
or the Canadian back bacon?
Our bacon.
No, that's real bacon.
I don't know how far Canadian bacon will get you here.
Yeah, Canadian bacon is what you put on a sandwich. Bacon is you should be able to like grease an axle with your bacon. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Accurate. Highly accurate.
Well, I do have one other fellow that's sitting in the wings, and we'll bring him in. And once again, guys, anytime you need to bail, that's fine. It's been great having you. Just having you here has been a blessing. So thank you all.
It's been great to be here.
I
Talking
have
about bacon too much, so I had to grab it.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
That
now
was magical.
someone over
Way
here
to
on
rub it
the
in, dude.
they said there's too many Canadians. Sorry, I'm adding one more. There's too many American. Well, actually, not even Aussie. Yeah, 2 Americans. New Zealand. Oh,
It's fine. I'm feeling very outnumbered
actually born in
by
Australia,
distillers right now, so we really should add in someone.
Our Aussie fellow hasn't shown up yet. So we have another member from Cask Strength, which is another YouTube channel. For
Oh,
those who
those
haven't-
guys.
And occasionally you'll see all of them, but one disappears quite often. And this fellow fills in, and he's newest Cask Strength member. So welcome everyone to Hayes.
Hey guys,
Hey,
What's up?
how's it going tonight?
Good.
Well, it's really good, but you know what? Lisa's getting a little upset. You're not up here cuddling with her.
Well, I have a pretty valid excuse. It was my boy's birthday party today, so I wasn't able to make it up there. But more than anything, we wanted to get up there. I know Brad is slightly more than annoyed that he couldn't make it down again.
I'm very, very annoyed that the weather ruined my trip again for the second time.
But I would like to say congrats on 1,000 subscribers and congrats on everything with the distillery now that it's the big headaches are all over. So
Yeah, we see the light now. So, and we'll join you on this.
Cheers, guys.
Here's two big milestones.
what's everybody sipping on? I imagine I already missed that round of questioning.
We haven't even
Yeah,
touched
haven't done
that
that.
one.
This is something Jessie and I made.
Ooh, I like it.
Allegedly.
That's cheating. How dare you?
This is corn beer. It's a beer that we made without any hops in it.
No,
I heard someone was making some Eagle Rare style things, so I pulled Eagle Rare out.
Oh,
Nice.
nice one.
Grab this guy.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
there we go.
Oh
Very
yeah.
nice.
Awesome. I've
So,
got some Blackadder Lacheg.
Very nice.
18-year raw cask.
As well.
Wow.
He goes rare.
You guys with all your money that you can spend on alcohol.
That one's left over from college.
You guys have some better taste. I have a liquor cabinet full of like Goldschlager and Jaeger and butter nipple stuff. I don't have any good stuff in my liquor cabinet left over from college. It's all shit. All shit.
Well, you know, I don't know if everyone's seen this, but behind us on the floor is our little still right there. That's what we started with. That's what Jessie taught us how to build, and pretty close to what he did. And then we changed it up because we wanted to know the bubble plates and how to work all that and everything else. That's how we started. And, you know, if we fed it, we treated it really nicely, and it grew into this.
Sure. Now, yeah. Jonathan, I know that when you started, you were just 100% research, and you never touched a still until you guys were licensed.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
What was the size of still that you guys started on?
Oof, it was probably like a half gallon. It made horrible whiskey. Still up here if you ever want to see it. Up at Iron Root. So, and then we moved to, I think a 22 liter, maybe, still. All stainless. That one, marginally better.
I have an essential oil distiller that size.
That sounds about accurate, yeah.
I make distilled water and rosemary oil with it.
What a lot of people don't realize is when you go to a bigger size, it's actually easier to make the whiskey.
Yeah.
So as far as making cuts, you got a lot more time, a lot more leniency with it. And so it's if you're on a little still, I mean, you got just a little bit of time to make that cut. So
yeah.
Here, if I mess up by a minute or two, no big deal.
Well, the thing is, in a little still, I find that you have to collect in separate jars and then do the blending after. Whereas in bigger still, you're doing it all at the Parrot.
Yep.
You know? You've got the Parrot wide open in the bottom, and then when all of a sudden your heads are gone, then you just flip it over and start collecting.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
So fancy.
So lazy.
200 mils, 200 mils, 200 mils.
So, well, I mean, the other thing is, like, I've yet to make the same thing twice. So,
yeah.
I mean, I imagine if you've made something 10, 15 times, you'd get pretty good at knowing what's coming next. And, you know, you can kind of not go by the numbers, like you're still going to be using your sense, but you know, you can get used to the process and dial it in over time. But yeah, there's no way I'm going to do that when I'm putting something through the still that I've literally never made before, let alone probably tasted a commercial example of before. So,
I just go visit people when they've already done the work. So
yeah. I don't like that observation, dude.
Now somebody's the smart one.
Is what, sorry, Jonathan?
I said, now somebody's the smart one over there in the corner.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, Jonathan, and I'm sure
it doesn't hurt when people like Jonathan will just pour you almost anything when you show up to visit.
Dude, you guys damn near wrecked me.
It was a fun and rough time in Austin.
That's why you got off the plane limping.
It was legitimately cool, man. It was nice to show up, and I had certain feelings towards ever making something commercially, and then after seeing the combination of you and Andalusia, who are kind of going about things totally different and at the same times, at the same way, totally the same, and seeing what Mark's doing, it's kind of changed my mind on it. It was really cool. Like, you know, afterwards. Hey, I'm not saying that, dude. I'm just saying, like, it's not a hell no, never.
The fact that you're not like, no.
Yeah.
That's a win in my book.
As soon as you need a Canadian rep, you just let me know.
But yeah, honestly, man, like hanging out with you guys afterwards and sort of throwing some crazy ideas that I thought that I'd made up in my head, and then you saying, "Oh, we've got a barrel of that. Come taste it." To literally everything I could think of.
ADD, it's contagious, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and-
you know the problem is once you start getting into that size, all of a sudden your little experiment of 50 liters is now 1,300 liters. You know, it's
Yeah,
I was just about to say, I know I've got a rough idea what your lineup's shaping up to be up there in Canada, and I don't know. All power to you, man. Starting a new distillery and thinking about more than like 2 or 3 different bottles or 2 or 3 different labels. That's
well, you know what? We don't have a choice. When you do an investment of this size, you're not going to have one SKU. That's not possible. And being in Canada, like Scotland, you can't have a whiskey until 3 years plus a day.
Yeah.
I'd go broke by then. So I need to do something. So moonshine is, of course, the logical thing. The vodka, the gins. Lisa does all the gins. She has that taste for it. But little cures, you need a catalog. So we have 30 recipes that are ready to go, and we'll have 3 that we're going to put into our liquor stores, and because we know that we can supply 3 SKUs to a liquor stores. Because in Canada, it's run by, well, in Ontario, it's run by one company, the LCBO, and they'll call up and say, yep, in 2 days, we're picking up 8,000 bottles. And then they can call in 2 weeks again and say the same thing. And you never say no. So we have to have stock of that stuff, and we figure we can supply 3 SKUs and keep that going. But in our store, in our storefront, and most of you have already seen that, followed my channel, we've showed the storefront. We can do things. So something that's seasonal, like Lisa came up with a rhubarb moonshine that would freaking knock your socks off. It's delicious.
That sounds good.
A spicy cowboy candy. Haynes has had that. It's
That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's really kind of neat. So that allows us to play a lot more, although we do it with liqueurs and gins. But in 3 years' time, we're coming out heavy with this.
That's awesome.
So you say, you know, we have a big variety, but really, when you're starting a distillery in an area that has a waiting period, you don't have a choice. I mean, in order to keep the doors open, keep lights on, to keep the grain in these monsters, you sell other stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can totally see that. I don't I don't know how you're going to keep up with all the different stuff. But I forget that you can sell on premise too, so you can just run out, and it doesn't matter if you run out.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Keeps lagging.
Well,
yeah, I think I think I might be the problem down here in New Zealand.
Well, you really are very, very far away.
It's true.
That he is.
What time is it there, Jesse?
3:22 in the afternoon.
In the afternoon. 8:22 in the PM here.
Yeah, well, 9:22 here, so. And this has gone really fast.
Yeah.
So the one thing the one thing we do here, and we're going to continue to do it, is we have a label that everything we make or everything we try is going to come out of our laboratory. We have a small still in there that'll do the production before we run up to the big stuff. And we're going to stick this laboratory label on there. And all our customers that come into the tasting room get to decide what actually we put out and sell. So
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we invited Brad and Hayes to come up and spend some time, and we were going to have them go through about 5 different of our moonshines and have the majority rule as to what goes on our shelf.
Careful, Brad will be asking for the Canadian Club clone.
How dare you? How dare you, sir?
You know it so well.
You think you're going to get invited to my closet now? Yeah, it's still happening, actually. That doesn't.
Yeah. Canadian Club, Canadian Mist. Oh my God, I saw an advertisement for Canadian Mist yesterday. Yeah, these are the stuff that we actually sell off. We send it out of the country. Crown Royal, that's another one. We've had a product up here in Canada that
That's all my friends drink is Crown and Canadian Mist.
We had a product that came out from
They
the
like it candy
Wisers
sweet.
distillery, and it's called the Northern Releases, and it was four versions of product, and all four were unspeakably delicious and just incredible. Daniel, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so every year, Corby Spirits, which is Wiser's, Gooderham and Warts, Lot 40, and Pike Creek, all have a fall release like a lot of distilleries. It's called the Northern Border Release. So it's a special expression of each of those core ranges. Lot 40 every year offers a cask strength, which is by a lot of people's opinion, one of the best Canadian ryes to ever be produced. It's fantastic stuff. Wiser's will put out a 35-year every year. It's actually quite tasty. The Pike Creek is always a barrel finish, and the first year it was Speyside cask finish. The second year it was European oak, and this year is Oloroso. And to my knowledge, and I'm sure I am wrong, but as far as mainstream mass-produced stuff goes, that's the first Canadian finished in Oloroso that I'm aware of. And it was quite nice. Me and Brad and another friend of ours went to the Spirit of Toronto in the spring, which is a pretty big whiskey show. And we went to Dr. Don Livermore's masterclass. We got to try this year's entire Northern Border collection before they even had a label design for them.
Wow.
And yeah, as Mark stated before, every year when the Northern Border comes out, it really does impress. There is that whole attraction of limited edition and whatnot that I'm certainly, that hype factor does help them out, but it is delicious whiskey. Some are better than others. Some years are better than others, but I've never had one that was disappointing. The first thing you'll notice about all of them is the higher ABV. It's not bottled at your standard bare legal minimum of 40, which shows, in my opinion, a little more love into putting maybe flavor before profit. But yeah, they're fantastic. If anybody outside of Canada can ever get their hands on something from the Northern Border collection, I would suggest picking it up because it does showcase what we can make up here. We do have good whiskey. I swear to God, guys.
We just keep it.
It's around. Even within Canada, we can't get most of the good stuff. It's all out east or out west. We can't get it.
You know what? This year was the first time I tried to get all four of the Border collection. I didn't. I missed out on the Wiser's 23. It's still available, but it's a little on the top side of the price for what I want to do right now. But the biggest surprise was the Gooderham and Wart. Oh, I could not believe how fantastic that was.
That was the 49 Wellington.
Yes,
that's what yours.
Yeah. So that's a throwback, just a tribute to the original address of the Gooderham and Wart's distillery down in Toronto. There was 49 Wellington.
Yeah.
I can't remember much. He went into really good, comprehensive detail of the mash bills and everything and why he chose what. And I do have it all written down as I was trying to frantically write in my little nerdy notebook and keep up with Brad, who's sitting beside me. But we managed to find out quite a lot. And the only thing I can remember for that one was that he had red winter wheat. in that mash bill, and that was he really wanted to use it and hadn't previously used it. So that was the first expression I believe that Dr. Don used the red winter wheat in.
Yeah, we actually just did a batch of corn, red winter wheat, and malted barley, and I threw a stave in just so I could see what it's like in about 4 days, but so far the wheat shows up really nicely.
What was your percentage of the mash bill for the wheat?
That was in last week's video.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So unless I had my book, I'm too freaking old to keep that in my head.
Oh yeah, me neither. I'm not. I'm gonna have to just go back and watch it again.
I think it was about 16% on it.
That sounds about right.
I think you're 70, 16, and 14 on it.
Yeah, I don't. Off the top of my head, hopefully it's still on the board. Lisa just went to get the board. She comes back, she'll hold it up behind me, I'm sure. Unless that's the rye. I don't know if that's the rye one. Is that the rye? Well, don't know. She's still looking. She'll hold that up behind me. Okay, so we have a new Vanna White, and here she is.
Yay, Lisa.
Yeah, this is the rye. So 75 corn, 10 rye, and 15 malted. But yeah, the red wheat was in the other one. Yeah, sorry guys.
Wrong one?
Wrong one.
Okay.
Need to go check the smoker, get another beer, go to the bathroom. I shall return very shortly.
See you in a bit.
Well, we're not going to get to watch that.
So that's a
really
very
hope
high
you're
level
talking about-
Patreon perk.
Yeah, I really hope you're talking about the smoker.
Yeah. The top tier on Patreon. Follow me to the
It's
back.
patreon.com/stillit, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure, you know. I don't know what tier that would be, but
that's those super chat tips that you get.
sure.
So do you use a fisheye lens for that one? Just out of curiosity. So Jonathan, what's new with you? I haven't, it's been a while.
Oh man, we're just hot and heavy into production now. So the cool time of year is the time to do it in Texas. So otherwise it gets pretty hot on the chiller out there. So right now we're running pretty much full steam and lay everything.
Got to get all that stock ready to come up to Canada, baby. Woo!
Sure.
We're working on that. It's a good size bill, but yeah.
It is. I know it's a tricky dick, but there's a lot of people that are gonna very much. We're thirsty for delicious whiskey, and you certainly know what you're doing in that area. So,
well, thank you. We will work on sending some good stuff up your way.
Yeah, and I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 or 6 of those aforementioned really delicious Canadians that are waiting to come down to Texas in the fall. So
yeah, we don't get to buy your stuff up here, but we have a couple of mules over here. You know,
There's things coming for sure. It's a slow process to keep it all legal.
But you know,
Jonathan,
it'd be great to see some of your stuff up here. But like everything else, you're limited on what you can produce, and you're tap from Texas getting north. There's nothing left of that tap by the time it gets to this area.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
Yep.
Jonathan, have you heard whether or not there's been any progress in getting internet sales for distilleries? I know that there's been a lot of blockage against that for a long time, even with interstate sales. I didn't know if you'd heard about anything changing.
No, as of right now, about the only thing we can do is we can sell it online and you can pick it up at the distillery.
Right.
So basically, that crowded barrel kind of system.
Yeah, I don't understand why you can't.
Barrel system.
Is that just a state regulation or is that federal?
That's a Texas one for us to deal with. Now, we actually have some distribution outside of Texas that goes to some liquor stores that do have online outlets.
Oh.
So there are places, I believe it's called Ace Liquor, does things like that where they're able to sell it outside. So if we can distribute it outside the state into a state that can actually sell it online, sometimes you'll see things like that. There's some places in New York that are able to do it. Some places in Chicago are able to sell like that, but we can't.
I don't understand why there's been no progress in that, because it seems like that's just more money for everybody, even the tax man, if they would simply open up that avenue.
Yeah, I think part of it is when you start to kind of stepping around and cutting out distributors. Some people aren't getting their percentages, and therefore they're not real happy with us if we try to do that. So
that's a shitty way to. that's just stupid.
We live in, so yeah.
But
that's a discussion for another day.
You have a lot of regulations that are still from the Prohibition area down there as well.
That's what we fight against every day.
I do see Texas is doing a fair amount of lobbying to lighten up some of your regulations. So
when we first started the process, we actually couldn't sell anything from the distillery. So we could do distribution, we could do tastings, and that was it. We couldn't sell cocktails. We couldn't do any bottle sales. And so after we had already started the construction process, that actually switched. And so part of the area in the front of our distillery that was supposed to be all production area it's now cocktail lounge, but I was originally hoping to put some fermenters, some other mash tank type stuff in there. And, so not yet. So,
but you know what? The culture is changing everywhere to some degree. It's slow for sure, but in Canada, 5 years ago, this was almost impossible, because to actually apply for a license, you could not have a still under 50,000 liters.
Right.
So you had to have something that big just to apply to become a distillery. Yeah. So those laws have changed quite a bit, and that is no longer in the regulations at all. And we have actually seen someone become a distillery with 100-liter still. So
crazy.
Just trying to feed something that size. We go real fast.
Oh.
Yeah, most of the guys, unless you're a Diego or a Corby, it's prohibitive. But the one guy did do it, and he's one of the fellows that lobbied to help the rest of us. What he ended up doing is he built a 50,000-liter mash tun fermenter distill all in one. He loaded it, fermented on the grain, and did his first runs right off that, and then he loaded did the spirit run in the Carl that he had from Germany.
I just met a gin distillery at a gin festival I went to last weekend. I was tasting their gin and actually quite impressed with it, and found out that they are running off 3 Copperhead stills, which are essentially 3 T500s. So, 75 liters of still space. And it was honestly some of the best New World gin. It's barely gin. It's more other random flavors than anything else, but man, was it good. It was amazing.
I hope somebody makes some type of GIF of when you guys tell a joke about distillery stuff, and me and Brad are just like,
sure,
T500.
Whatever you say.
Those old T500.
Let's sit here quietly drinking.
You know what? Our community, and there are 2 sides of it on the YouTube channels. Our community is the aficionados, the fellows who enjoy the flavors, enjoy the experience and everything else. And then we have the other ones that, that dive into it and want to learn how it's made, to make it and explore it. And that was one thing is, when Lisa and I looked at a retirement, what are we going to do in retirement? We wanted something that would be a never-ending learning experience. And a distillery is it. You will never stop learning. And we need the other fellows to tell us that's shit.
You guys are all doing God's work. You're all doing God's work, and you have taken it to that next level. and everyone can enjoy whiskey, but you guys really are at making the complete cycle. I do have some experience in an area where there was a consumable that I really enjoyed, so I started producing it myself. And once you get to that level, you really do have a comprehensive grasp of the hobby and whatever your angle is on it. Some people, certainly there is some distillers I'm sure that don't have as much of a passion or a desire to create a product. They're truly doing it for money. There's obviously some people out there like that, but from what I've seen from you guys and what I've tasted, from Iron Root and from Mark there, you guys all have that passion and that drive that's more than just a slight interest and backed up with the novelty of being able to maybe make something on the back end. But yeah, it's awesome. Like I said, I'm not a religious guy, but you guys are doing God's work.
It's funny what triggers certain things. I was just sitting here thinking about 10 years ago, Lisa and I used to really enjoy a product, and it got discontinued, and we thought, what the hell? So we tried many other things, and it became our life goal to reproduce as close as we can a product that was called Navon. Does anyone remember that? It was a Grand Marnier liqueur. It was a vanilla liqueur. And yeah, we're old. Okay. So we're pretty close on it already. We still have a few more things to learn, I guess, or to explore. But we're going to bring that flavor back to the market.
Awesome.
Do you still have an example that you've got stashed away somewhere, or are you running on memory?
It's memory now. It's gone. It's been over 10 years. Yeah, it was.
We kept the bottle just to smell it for a while.
Yeah, we sniffed the ball for a long time.
Yeah.
One thing you might want to do is all of your customers and even the subscribers to your channel, put out a call to see if anybody's got some of that left over. That way you can keep it in a distiller's library and have an example to compare it to, so that as you get closer and closer, you can judge for real, and so it's not just based on memory.
Yeah. So anyone who is watching this, send me an email later. But yeah, it's such a dated product. It was a good seller. They did change it halfway through, which was kind of surprising. Grand Marnier, they had complaints it was too sweet, so they did change it halfway through its production, and then the sales just tanked from there. And evidently, too sweet sold better than not. So after tanking the sales, they just gave up on it. Now, tanking the sales to Grand Marnier is far more than what I need. So
yeah.
I can make a vanilla liqueur that's very similar to it, and I'm pretty sure my sales will make me very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also still quite interested, Mark, in growing out some gnarly heirloom corn varieties. Hopefully get enough maybe to fill up your little test still.
Yeah, we're looking, like, we have the 100-acre farm that we can plant in. So we are looking at exploring some different things. Now, I'm pretty sure Jonathan's already done this, and maybe Jonathan, if you could nail me down a bit on this. We're looking at the Jimmy Red corn. Have you had any experience with it?
I've tasted some whiskeys made out of it that have been good. We have not ever played with Jimmy Red. So as far as telling you firsthand what it tastes like off the still, I got nothing for you there.
No, okay. So that's something we want to explore. I mean, in Canada, we have dent corn, and that is what's available. The fact that we have the ability to grow, we can play a bit. So Dent or Dent corn's popular. Jimmy Red is not. Now we can get some other types of exotic corns up here, but to plant enough to do a barrel or two, that'd be pretty hard. So
yeah, and sometimes they're cost prohibitive too. So sometimes you can get some of the corn, but it costs so much, your shelf price would be ridiculous. So
yeah. No, we
notice some of them. So
yeah, we know it would be a huge undertaking. It would be, culling it by hand and, stripping the grain, the kernels by hand. So yeah, it would be.
Wire, you hear that? Might have your job like the good old days.
I've got something that's cast iron that can shell them pretty fast, but it's hand cranked.
Yeah,
I have one of those on my dad's farm. It came from my great grandfather. It's the
you toss the cob in there and it strips it out.
Yeah.
First batch of bloody butcher corn, my parents sat there and pulled all the kernels off by hand.
What?
I've got a machine that can do that. And they're like,
Did it taste better though, just because of the blood, sweat, and tears?
Yeah, extra blood in the bloody butcher that year.
Right.
You have to put that on the label, or how does that work?
We don't talk.
Does that count as an ingredient?
My wife used to work at years and years ago. Like it was her first job ever at a place called Allison's Corn. Oh, Chatham. Okay, so whoa, I totally made a mistake there.
Watch out there now, bud.
Not Allison.
Are you okay?
I'm actually waiting for this big cane to come across and yank him.
No, she's probably got a knife.
So, what is the tax? Is there what's the evil tax like in Canada on spirits?
61 and a half.
Something like that.
Yeah.
$61.50 per liter of pure.
Percent.
61.5%.
So we get taxed 61.5 on the absolute alcohol in percentage.
It's calculated a little bit differently in the States. Jonathan, are you in the, what is it, 250 a proof gallon or 1250 a proof gallon? Isn't there a
70 right now, something like that? So we were paying $13.50 per proof gallon, but a proof gallon for us it's a gallon of spirit at 100 proof.
Right.
So it's basically just half of just being absolute alcohol. But yeah, so we were originally getting charged $13.50 when we first started out. Then we got something passed and they knocked it down to, I believe it's $2.70 per proof gallon, which is a huge savings for the first so many thousand proof gallons you produce.
You just got that extended too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. Oh,
we
awesome.
did. We did.
I didn't know that.
Here, and we're hoping to try and get it made
permanent? Yeah. Written into the code.
Yeah, that'd be nice up here too.
The reason why I know so much about that excise tax rule is because at the exact same time that they were coming up with that and putting it into the big omnibus bill, they were also trying to get an amendment to legalize hobby distilling. And that sadly got left out when they passed the excise tax bill. It was in a previous version, then they left it out in the new one. And
I didn't realize that was even up for it.
yeah, you and everybody else.
You know what? It blows me away. In Canada, you can make your own beer, you can make your own wine, you can grow your own pot. But oh no, don't have a still. It's we understand the mysticism and the misconceptions of having a still and the propagation of shows like Moonshiner where it shows the thing blowing up on you and everything else. But
a big part of it is that most people don't even know it's illegal.
Yeah,
I sent an email to one of my state senators a couple of years ago, and I got an email back from his staff that, oh no, you need to contact the state officials. This is not a federal problem. And I sent them back, no, it's illegal at the federal level, ding dong, in the nicest possible way. And then I never heard
on
back.
the nicest possible way,
Surprise.
was it?
Well, the nicest possible, most professional way. I actually used to communicate on a professional level, and I didn't call everybody a dickhead like I do now.
He's ding dong.
No, I said, something to the effect of, I don't know. I've had too much to drink to remember exactly how professionally I worded that email, but I'm sure I could find it. But
no, I think you're right.
It took everything in me not to just drive down to the office and pull somebody's eyeballs out of their eyes and shake them, because it seems like a silly thing to want to legalize, but when you're passionate about it, it's important. And hopefully we'll be able to get the law changed, because I think it needs to be. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to hijack the conversation.
No, we're good. and we agree. You know what? It's when in Canada, when it became legal for people to make their own beer at home and everything else. Yes, you went through that series of this is all crap. This is why you buy retail beer. But then all of a sudden, the community started changing. They started learning. They started investing. The quality of the beer started to grow. And we're tasting some homebrews that are rivaling some of the greatest German beers and everything else. And I have always enjoyed a heavier, hoppier beer. You just couldn't, outside of Guinness or Harp, you really couldn't get that. Now it's everywhere. And it was through that evolution that the craft breweries sprung up. Now, we've almost gotten to a saturation point, but that's a saturation point of breweries trying to be just straight breweries. If they're a brewery plus a restaurant and offer value, it's the sky's the limit, I think, still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot to be learned from the brewing, craft brewing, home brewing world for distilling on all those levels, I think. And I think for the brewers, from the distillers as well, on a professional level, but on a community and what can happen. Looking at what happened in, what was it, the mid-70s or something in California, it all sort of took off.
It was
80s,
1978 is when home brewing was legalized here in the States.
Yeah, and that just changed the face of craft beer forever. Eventually,
Yeah,
and the thing is too, like it's legal for us down here to distill, but New Zealanders tend to be not overt about their hobbies and not overt about. We're not cocky like Americans. But
we're sorry for that.
Bullshit.
But in a way, I think that's a bad thing, right? So I think if the American people got hold of that hobby and were allowed to practice it and allowed to experiment, most importantly, with it, I have no doubt that there are, levels and depths and flavors and combinations and ideals that just haven't even been touched yet. That would be because someone in their home garage would figure something out, fall in love with it, do exactly what you guys have done.
Jonathan, where are you? There you are. Perfect example, because they're doing stuff with all different varietals of corn. Most of the varietals that most people have never even heard of. And what you guys have been able to do with them is just astonishing. And to me, you guys have opened up like a whole new chapter of whiskey, within Texas whiskey. So that I think that what you guys are doing is going to start to spread way further outside of Texas, because once people taste what you can do with just modifying one ingredient a teeny little bit, getting a different species, and you get this massive flavor change. I think that's the kind of thing that comes from small scale innovation going big, and
Yeah,
you guys are a
100%.
perfect example of it.
Well, and you know what? When it comes to a smaller distillery, or even the what Jessie played at home there, we want to explore those avenues we have never had before. Like,
Right.
if I want to make what I can buy at the shelf, why would I bother?
Right.
Other than to learn that process, I'm not going to make
What the hell's the point of doing that?
But I want to try something new. I want to know what that's going to affect this. And you know what? We're talking about using different types of grains and exploring. Like, corn itself has a huge, vast array of different flavors within it. And so does every other grain. But that's only half the story. We also look at right now, behind me, you can see, and much like Jonathan's, these are a standardized product and design. I mean, different. When we did ours, we decided to go with the wide body, so that gives us more of that flavors. And there's all different. The shorter, thinner, taller is going to give you a different flavor than the wider. The helmet, that gives you a different flavor depending on what
Which is crazy. There's just so many different. Every stage of the process can give you something totally different when everything else is the same.
Hit it with a hammer a few times, change the flavor for the next run.
Yeah. What
You laugh, dude, but there's stories about people fixing mistakes in stills and fucking a still.
Joking.
Yeah.
Once again, what comes down the road when we have people that are designing something completely new, something we have never seen before or imagined?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is too, if you're in production and you've got a business to run, there's only so much you can experiment with. Before you.
Yeah. It's when you're fucking around at the hobby level that you need to be able to do those innovations.
Exactly. And that's what happened with beer.
Your month can be allowed to play. The rest is production to keep the doors open.
Yeah.
Before I was distilling, I was in a biomedical job, and our boss would come in and he would tell us. He said, "What we need is $1 billion idea. You all are going to have a bunch of $1 million ideas, but unless you have $1 billion idea, we don't want to hear it."
Yep.
And it's that kind of thing. Once you get to a certain scale, that you can't really focus on every little thing that might be cool or could make a little bit of money here or that. You've got to kind of focus on a bigger picture. Home distilling, I mean, people could go run down every avenue and check everything out. It would do a lot for the industry.
And a lot of them share it. So, it's when you get into the larger distilleries and you look back going, wow, what a fantastic idea. We can scale that. So, I mean, it just helps us too.
Yep. And I think it breeds a new sort of ethos in the commercial world as well. If you go back 30 years and you asked a professional brewer how they made their beer, give me the recipe, and because I want to make it at home, they'd laugh you out of the building. Mm-hmm. But now, like 90% of craft brewers came from that community. So they're like, yeah, sure, come in. I'll show you exactly what I do. I'll give you
and here's some hops that I use. Yeah,
exactly. You want a pitch of my yeast? Yeah, I have a pitch of my yeast, but it doesn't matter because I know that that's only 15% of what my product actually is. The rest of it is the way I brew it.
Right.
But we're starting to see that, like the fact that Jonathan's here today, and that that Mark and Lisa are setting their channel up the way they are, is showing that that's changing in distilling, which is cool. It's really cool.
Yeah. Now, heck, when we started, about a decade ago, trying to learn, there was not a whole lot of information out there for distilling. So everything was still fairly esoteric. There were a couple of textbooks that you could order, but I mean, they were textbooks, so it was pretty heavy reading.
Yeah.
Now if we'd have had the information available to us then, that's available even just on YouTube now. I mean.
Oh, Jonathan, could you imagine? Like, I started out and I was blessed. We did a lot of reading, but I was blessed to be able to follow this one.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to start yours, being able to follow what he's done?
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Yeah. I'm making it up as I go, though, dude. I just show up at your place and get you to tell people what to do.
You're gonna let me make it up for a little while?
What's that, sorry, man?
You're gonna let me make it up for a little while?
Screen. You know, at the risk of Jesse's head filling up the rest of the screen below me, fantastic blessing for us. He really has.
He's right.
Had to stop it somehow.
Folks, on that note, it is 5-2, and
No,
it's
actually 1-2.
wow. It has been a blessing tonight. I have learned from each of you. Jonathan, I have followed you. I have enjoyed everything Iron Root has done, has explored, and has grown towards. We can only wish to follow in your footsteps to some degree. You know,
Yep.
Brad and Dan.
Let us know.
Yeah, Brad, and I will see you this fall, by the way. Brad and Dan, you guys are great friends. You know, we've Cask Strength has been a lot of fun. We've had some good times together, and we will continue to have some good times.
We will.
Absolutely.
Jesse, yeah, Lisa's gonna hug the hell out of you, and I'm gonna get you too.
Sounds
This way,
good.
Bearded, you've been fantastic as well. Some of the ideas you've dropped on me and the sense of humor have just been priceless. Everybody,
They're few and far between, trust me.
thank you for joining my 1,000. And when we hit 5, I'm going to be calling you all again.
Congratulations.
Like a plan.
Congratulations,
Congrats on
man.
1,000 subs, man.
Salute.
Cheers.
Cheers.